Okay. Welcome, folks. Good to vach. Shavua Tov. A good week. Baruch atah Adonai den Mechela, Mishahakol Nebibare.
Amen.
Amen.
Chaim Chaim Bracha. Oh, I needed that. I just came back from up 2 hours up north, visiting our grandchildren in camp, overnight camp, Camp Gan Yisrael. Unbelievable. It was beautiful. We sent our kids there. Now grandchildren are going there. So we've been going there for the last 40 years. A bit less than probably. No, I mean, for the children, less than 40 years. Yeah. 35 or something years. To spend kids on visiting day. So a very special place for the kids in the summer. The Rebbe speaks about summer and summer camp can be more important for Jewish children than even school itself, than even yeshiva. Because in school, school's school, and you got to do what you got to do, right? No one chooses to go to school, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody must go to school, right? Is that right? You must go to school. But when you go to camp, you get to go to camp. You love to go to camp. And the kids there thrive. So the Rebbe speaks about that what you can accomplish in camp, because kids, that's where they want to be, because they're running around, they're playing this and that their Judaism then is in a much more relaxed mode, that their inspiration becomes so much greater than it is in school. But at school, you got to do, you must. Camp, you want it. It's a privilege. It's great. It's amazing. So the inspiration that the kids have from a proper Jewish camp, that is much greater. It's more. It helps them socially, emotionally, psychologically, and in their commitment to Judaism in a much greater way, because they're in an element that they want to be in that is, enjoyable. So we just came back from there, and what's beautiful is the camp. It's in La Belle, La Minerve. You never been there.
No, never been there.
Yeah.
In the forest area?
A lot of trees, lakes,
good,
water, beautiful. They even just put in, interesting, that they just put in a, what's it called? You have to excuse me. I've driving 4 hours today.
We're in the forest.
No, the drive is a little more, challenging. Oh my. Not a ski line, a
zip line.
A zip line. Thank you. They just put in a zip line in camp, and the only ones who get to use it, it's not an activity. It's only an activity if you've done well in something. So they have Shabbos bunk competition. Which bunk, was more engaged in Shabbos, whether it was singing, whether it was whatever it was, right? That they were more engaged in. So they win the competition. They get to go zip lining. Or those who were best in prayer this morning, they get to go, right? So it becomes a privilege that they get to do it in such a circumstance. Anyways, beautiful. Yeah. Huh? Best memories, absolutely. My kids, from their youth, what they have best memories. So Mendel was there visiting my daughter Hani from Napa Valley. So we drove up and visiting her son there. And so Mendel went to camp there, and best friend. So I said to Mendel, you want to stay? Maybe we'll come pick you up next month. All right. Welcome, folks. Oh, Art, you spent a camp and staff. Oh, what was the name of the camp, Art? Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. So, Gutavach, Shavua Tov, a new week, new vitality. Of course, vitality comes from Torah, the Torah portion. And this week, a double portion of Matas Maseh, and it's Shabbos Chazak. We finished the fourth book, the book of Bamidbar, Numbers. We are in the narrative of the Jewish people in the desert in the 40th year. They're encamped next to the Jordan, on the Jordan River on the eastern side, ready to cross. But before crossing the Jordan and getting the land, in this week's Parsha, we are given how the land will be delineated. What are the exact borders to the land? That's what our Parsha, one of the things our Parsha deals with, the boundaries of the land and the distribution of the land, who gets what. Now, of course, this distribution would take place after the passing of Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, and it would be assigned to the responsibility of Moshe and Aaron's successors, Elazar, who was the son of Aaron, the high priest, and Yoshua, who was Moshe's greatest disciple. So let's turn to the first text. If you go to Numbers, chapter 34, verse 17 through 19. Let's get it here. All right. We have it on the side there. Okay. All right. These are the names of the men who will inherit the land for you. Elazar the Kohen and Yoshua the son of Nun. Take one prince from each tribe to help you to acquire the land. These are the names of the men, the tribe of Yehuda, Caleb, and Yefunah, and so on. And then Torah gives us the list of names of each tribal prince, the leader of each tribe. But that's not relevant to our discussion. Today we're going to focus on who they are and more on their role that they played. So Elazar and Aaron, they administered a lottery. And Moshe. The roles seems to be straightforward, right? They made a lottery, and the lottery we actually had in the last week's Parsha, right? Of drawing lots. But now in this week's Parsha, from last week, if we go, this is chapter 26, verse 54. Rashi's explanation. I mean, you see it on the screen over here, so you don't have to necessarily see it in the Chumash, but if you want. The names of the tribes were inscribed on 12 slips and 12 territories on another 12 slips. They mixed them in a box, and the prince of each tribe placed his hand inside and drew out 2 slips. In his hand came out a slip bearing his name the name of his tribe and a slip inscribed with the territory designated for it. So here's one miracle that happened, right? So Kalev, when he went and put his end, right, the leader of Yehuda, look at that, he got the name Yehuda, which is his tribe that he's representing, right? And then the second slip wasn't a name of another tribe, right? Because if there's 12 and 12 and they're mixed together, it could have been, no, he got a territory. That was his territory, right? So what did each leader do? What did each leader do? According to last week's Torah portion, very simple. They represented their tribe in literally putting their hand into the box, choosing 2 slips of paper, which then clearly delineated the name of their tribe and the parcel of land that would be an inheritance to the entire tribe. Clear? Right? That's what's in front of us right here. Yeah? That's from last week. Excuse me. Let's go to this week. And we see something different. This is, well, in the reading we just read in verse 17. So Rashi says, on the words in verse 17, who will inherit the land for you? For you means on your behalf. Meaning, each prince was an administrator for his tribe to divide the tribal inheritance among the families and individuals. He chose a suitable portion for each one. We can't translate for you as to you, for in that case, the text would not read, inherit the land for you, but bequeath the land to you. The word inherit implies that they inherit for you on your behalf and in your stead, as the passage, God will wage war for you. Okay, so this seems to be a surprising understanding, different than what we learned from last week, right? Again, what do we see from last week? That they merely represented their tribe to draw the lots, right? So in an administrative role, they were playing to, just be there on behalf of their tribe, right? But here, what Rashi is saying, no. Here they served a different role. Their role was to give to each family their particular area within the tribe. Each family gets an inheritance, and this will be administered through the leaders of each tribe. And this is what it means for you, meaning they chose for you which plot of land you are going to have. Is that clear?
They being the leaders. They
the leaders of each tribe,
Yeah.
exactly. The leaders of each tribe. So before, their role was clearly only administrative, if you will, in the sense that they are just representing the tribe, and just, here's a box, 24 different, and they just chose, and that was it. Here Rashi comes and says something more. He says that they will actually decide which family is going to get which plot of land in their particular tribe, which, first of all, sounds a little much. Well, I don't. What do you mean by cumbersome? You mean that it's a lot for them to do? Yeah, it's a lot for them to do. But even more than that, it seems a little intrusive. It's like, I'm going to tell you which house you're going to live in. You're going to live on this block, and this is your home. You're living on the next block, 3 doors down, and this is your home. That's what they did. right? So that sounds a little much, right? It sounds like Big Brother, communist regime, that they're, telling you exactly what you're going to do and where you're going to do it and when you're going to, where you're going to live and what you, right? Margaret Thatcher, after she became Prime Minister of England, so she popularized the term that we will not become your nanny state. What's a nanny? A nanny is someone who takes care of you, right? Instead of you taking care of your own kids, you have the nanny taking care of the kids, right? So instead of you taking care and being responsible for your life, the government is being responsible and taking care of your life and giving you dictates what to do. That's what it sounds like over here, that the leader of each tribe is dictating which kind of, where you're going to live, what plot of land, and so on. So how do we understand that, right? Why is this being given over to them? Is that clear? Furthermore, how does Rashi even know this? How does Rashi know that their additional role that they, right, besides drawing the lots, right, for the inheritance for the entire tribe, right? That's for the entire tribe, right? When the verse only mentions inheriting the land, it doesn't say that they are distributing each parcel of the land to each family. The verse doesn't say that. Where does Rashi get this?
Is it because of the style of the Torah that it's very specific, count, 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 and that brought the assumption that Rashi would also assume that this was what happens. Like the specific.
Assume? That's a no-no. No assumptions. You got to prove what you're saying. Can't assume. Without a proof, it's a meaningless statement, right? That everything needs to be proved. Otherwise, it's not legit, right? Everything. Torah. Rashi, all the more so because he's so precise. So we're left with the question. If that's the case, how does he know that this was their additional role? That their original role, that was very clear in the verse that we learned from last week, right? Because that was stated in the verse that this is what they need to do, right? Each one had, that's how the lottery worked, right? But here, remember, if you go back to verse 17, it says, these are the names of the men who will inherit the land for you. Elazar the Cohen and Yeshua, the son of Nun, take one prince from each tribe to help you acquire the land. Right? So to acquire the land, where do we know that this is the meaning behind it? Further, right, is it just like what they did before acquiring the land, meaning they chose the lottery, as we learned previously? And furthermore, their first question was, it seems a little intrusive, right? That the state, so to speak, right, is deciding where you're going to live, what plot of land you're going to have. Okay. So answers this question, right? Okay. So our second question, so our first question, it's intrusive. Second question is inheriting the land. How does Rashi know this? So remember, everything is very exacting, and therefore, when we look at the verse, that's where we're going to get our clue. And the very fact that tribal princes are introduced in the same context as Elazar and Yeshua, this is significant, right? This is what we need to analyze. In other words, there's a commonality between the tribal leaders that the verse wants to tell us and between Elazar and Yeshua. They're national leaders. They are leaders who are responsible for the entire Jewish people. And therefore, there must be something that is a commonality. And the Rebbe in a Sikha says the following. Oops. Second. Okay, put it there. There we go. Okay. There are two distinct elements to tribal prince's role to provide for his tribe. One, he is a proxy of the Jews and his tribe to provide for all their needs. Right? That's what what does it mean? A proxy means that you're there for the people, right? To advocate, right? So one of the ways they advocate they drew the lotteries to see what would be on behalf of their tribe. A second thing says that he was divinely ordained leader appointed by Moshe. God appointed Moshe as leader of the nation, succeeded by Yoshua, while Moshe appointed his leader on God's behest. Similarly, God, via his instructions to Moshe, ordained each tribal prince the leader of the nation. So the first role that the Rebbe explains over here is comparable to leaders who are elected or appointed to a position, right? It's not a divine position. It's a administrative duty that you do on behalf of who you've been either duly elected or appointed by. So here, of each tribe, you have administrative role that you need to fulfill on behalf of the people, right? The second role is different because it's divinely appointed. It means you're channeling God's leadership, just as God is intimately involved with our daily affairs. This task, being appointed by God through Moshe, means that they have to be intimately involved in the daily affairs of the Jewish people. And this is what the Rebbe explains in the the princes are divinely ordained leaders who channeled God's leadership. So Rebbe explains. His role as a proxy to his tribe is primarily to worry about the communal needs of the collective. This is consistent with the custom in every country where people gather to appoint leaders who provide for their general needs, while each individual provides for their general needs, while each individual provides for their own personal needs. In other words, in every government, the government provides in general, but everybody takes responsibility for their own lives, for their own personal needs they have to take care of, right? So I was just speaking to my wife, off the highway 117, when you're going up north after the 15, that turns into 117. And then there's what we call the famous 8-mile road till you get to camp. And I was telling my wife, wow, this is amazing that there's so few people living off this road, but there's water, there's electricity, there's telephone wires, and there's a whole infrastructure. So that's a generality that a government, right, The local government is providing for the needs of the people that are there. But to have food on the table, they're not providing. Which address they're going to live at, they're not providing, right? All of the more personal needs, that's something that each individual, right, and regular. However, that's in the first role that we're talking about. However, his role as a Jewish leader by divine ordination also pertains to the needs of the individual. He's not just a leader of the collective, he's also a leader of every individual. Ooh, interesting. So the tribal leaders over here had a dual role. One was administrative, one was being responsible for the collective needs of the people. That's exemplified by the fact that they drew lots. To the collective need was, oh, this is the area that will be our terrain, our, tribe's inheritance. That's a general need. After that, personal needs are not included. But then they're given ordained by God. Just as God provides for me the water that I drink, and therefore I have to make a bracha, she'ahakol niya bidvara l'chaim, which I said before, right? To recognize God, that he's providing, and to thank God for what he's providing individually. They're ordained also with the task to provide individually to every person, every family, and every person. Is that clear? Hence, they're now responsible to get involved in personal needs of every family and every individual. This is the context that we need to appreciate of why they allocated the suitable land for each family. You live here, you live over there, this is your plot of land, and so on, right? So, you go back to the verses from this week. So in text number 1, we had, in verse number 17, these are the names of the men who will inherit the land for you. Inherit the land for you, right? What does that mean? What does that mean? This means just like Yoshua and Elazar are there as leaders in a personal way for each individual, so they will inherit the land for you. That's what Rashi explains over here, for you, right? And continues in the next verse, each prince, right, to help you to give the personal needs to every individual, right? Just like we know the Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, and the Moses of every generation, the Rebbe, takes personal interest in every individual and is there for their personal needs. Right? That's the first verse that's telling us that, right? Because Elazar and Yoshua, replacement of Aaron, the continuation of Aaron, right? And Moshe, they are there to take care of the personal needs. That's what verse 17 is telling us. And that's why Rashi brings it out, because they're like them, right? Take one prince that they're going to help you to be like you, that they're taking the personal needs into consideration of every individual. And verse 18, then the second passage is this: to acquire the land. That's more the generic. Acquire the land is more the generic need that they have an administrative responsibility for the general tribe that they are assigned to as a leader of. Okay, is that clear? Was I clear in that? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, everybody? Thumbs up? Amazing. All right. So here on the screen we have it. Administrative role, the princes represent the tribes in communal matters. The princes help their tribes acquire the land. That's verse 18, right? And verse 17, the pastoral role, acting as God's agents, princes address individual and family needs within the tribes. The princes inherited the land for you, for the tribe, as each individual family, what their needs were, they were taken care of. So let's see the Rebbe's words in the Sikha. The words inherit for you, which refer to the tribal princes, appear in the same passages. The name is Elazar and Yoshua. From this, Rashi inferred that the prince's role in the land distribution referred to in this passage was related to the leadership capacity that they shared with Elazar and Yoshua. That's the key, right? Remember, we asked the question: how does Rashi know this new role of theirs? Where do you get it from? Because the verse is telling us about Yoshua and Elazar. They are taking personal interest in every individual. They're the national leaders, right? They're Moshe and Aaron, right? So that we understand that they have that. So Rashi is taking from there, right, from that they will inherit the land. No, that they will do it for you, meaning, so now in the leaders of the tribes, they have this quality also ordained within them because they are chosen by God to be those leaders, and therefore they have the capacity to take care of everybody's individual needs. God explicitly appointed Elazar and Yoshua to administer the land allocation. This was a new appointment separate from the roles as high priest and national leader, right? It's a new role. They didn't have to have that role. God appointed them in this new role. The same is true of the tribal princes. God gave them a special appointment related to their roles as responsible for the personal concerns of their constituents.
So not only the quality, but the responsibility was given to them.
Well, I'm not clear. What do you mean?
They not only had the quality of at the likes of Eliezer and Yeshua, but
Because they have the quality, they've been ordained with it. That's why they have the responsibility. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Is that clear? Okay. So, so now that we understand this, still we need to dig a little deeper because think about it. Think about it for a moment.
Well, just click on participants.
Hmm?
Click on participants. Don't stop sharing.
Uh, just want to say hello to everybody and see everybody here. Can we see them? So everybody's hiding. You can run, but you can't hide. All right. basic to the human instinct is wanting to have control. We want to control our lives. We want to have lives in a way that, when we have it under control, that we know everybody's okay, everybody made it home safe, everybody is doing okay, you feel okay. There's one of the basic human needs is to have control, right? So one of the basic needs are now movement. We want to be able to control where we go, when we want to go. So, okay, we understand that they've been given this great quality and capability of taking care of the needs, but in the end, I want to choose my path. So I want to live where I want to live. Why are they dictating? Right? Even if they're, again, divinely ordained for the role, it still seems a bit intrusive. So we need to appreciate what it means, a leader and great leadership. And then we'll have better appreciation. A couple of weeks ago in the Torah portion, we had what was my favorite Rashi in Chumash. So why would the Jews accept intrusive involvement in the personal lives from divinely ordained leaders? Question, right? So the verse says, Moshe is Israel, and Israel is Moshe. This teaches us that the leader of the generation is the entire generation, for the leader is everything. Wow. That's a pretty powerful statement, right? What does this mean? The greatness of Moshe, of the leader of the generation, is if you put all the Jewish people on one side of the scale and Moshe on the other side, they equal each other out. How could that be? How's that possible? Because he's an embodiment of every single soul, and therefore he's connected with every single soul.
Even in the Hebrew rabbi, it says, Shemoshe hu Yisrael, Yisrael him Moshe. So plural. Yeah. It's
yeah. Yeah. So how do we understand this? So Alter Rebbe Tanya says, all souls in the world were initially incorporated in the soul of Adam, the first human. Adam's soul differentiated into 613 general souls segments, corresponding to 248 limbs and 365 sinews in the human body. Each segment is subdivided into an endless number of specific soul sparks. These comprise all the souls of the Jewish people, from the days of our patriarchs and the 12 tribes until after the coming of Mashiach. At that time, the prophecy that the number of Jews will be like the sand of the ocean that cannot be measured or counted, for they are numerous, will be fulfilled. Know that Jacob's soul was also comprised of all the Jewish souls from the beginning until the end. So Adam is a collective soul. All souls emerge from him. The Jewish leader is like the Adam of the generation. A Nasi means a prince, means a leader. That's an acronym. Rabbi Yehuda the prince was a Nasi, the leader in Talmud, because the acronym of Nasi is Nitzutza Shel Yaakov Avinu. He is a spark of patriarch Jacob. This is by the mystery of reincarnation. So he is a spark of that, which means just like Jacob, we said, was the embodiment. He was father to 12 tribes. He was in it. That's it. Physically, spiritually, he was the father of all Jewish souls. right, of all the tribes and all the Jewish souls. He was the embodiment of Adam, who was the originator, right? Then that's embodied by Yaakov, and then it becomes embodied by Moshe Rabbeinu and the Moses in every generation, right? So what this means then is that Moshe of the generation is such an individual, that is connected with every single soul, and therefore knows exactly what that soul needs. Not necessarily is he in tune with what that soul might want, because what might you want might not be what you need. That's an important distinction, right? As parents, we know that, right? Our kids want something doesn't mean that's what they need. Got that? Should I repeat it so you get it? Yeah. Your parents give you what you need, not necessarily what you want, but what you need. All right? Okay. So that's Moshe Rabbeinu, right? That's what he does. And to such a degree that he feels the pain of the things that we need that we might even not recognize that we need, and we go off on a tangent, off a crooked path in life. Yet he feels it. Why was Moshe Rabbeinu chosen as the leader of the Jewish people? The famous story, he was a shepherd of Jethro, his father-in-law's sheep, and one of the sheep went astray, and he went after it and took care of it and didn't reprimand it, gave it, nourished it, gave it water, pampered it, gave great compassion. God said, if you can have compassion for the simple sheep, all the more he will have for my flock, the Jewish people. He will have great compassion, right? So this is Moshe Rabbeinu. This is the quality of him. And this is now what the 12 tribal leaders were in connection with the continuation of Moshe, which is Yoshua and Elazar, right? Them being that continuation, right? That now the 12 tribal princes, they are appointed by God, right? Because they embody their tribe. They're the embodiment of their tribe. Not of the collective 12 tribes, but of their particular tribe, right? And therefore, they know exactly what they need. They feel the pain of what they're lacking, even again, if the individual doesn't feel the pain, they feel that pain. And they are there for the personal needs to make sure that what's needed is given to them. So the Nazi engages with the personal concerns of individuals driven by deep empathy and the care for the well-being of every Jew. So Rebbe says, Sicha, a leader is not just someone we obey and follow. A leader is everything. As Rashi said, right? If the leader is everything, it follows the leaders regard all Jews equally. All sages of blessed memory taught that God tested Moshe to see if he is worthy of the Jewish leadership by gauging his regard for the sheep that ran away. Paying attention to the sheep in the herd doesn't prove we are faithful shepherds. Only when the sheep flees the herd and we do our best to pursue and bring it back do we prove that we're faithful shepherds. Psh. Right? Only then does it, oops. This demonstrates that Jewish unity is most pronounced within Moshe because the leader is everything. The leader regards all Jews equally. What is true of Moshe is the lesson for every Jew. It is explained in many places that there is a spark of Moshe in every Jew. We have that in chapter 42 of Tanya. Remember, we learned that. Accordingly, everything that is said about Moshe is a lesson for every Jew. If there is a spark of Moshe in each of us, we should be able to follow the guidance of Moshe's spark in us. This also relates to what we learn from Moshe about loving fellow Jews. We should regard all Jews the simplest and most profound, the wandering sheep and the present sheep equally as Moshe did. We do our best to encourage every Jew to do one more mitzvah out of love. So this is the idea in the Parsha. Now Rashi is teaching us, alluding to us in the explanation that they have the 12 tribes, the 12 leaders of the tribes have a responsibility because they have the empathy, the care for every single one of their constituents, and therefore know what they need. So therefore they know exactly what they need, which parcel of land they need, better than they would know. They might know what they want. I want this. This looks good. This looks luscious. This looks amazing. But that might not necessarily be what you need. They know what you need, and therefore they dictate, right? What everybody needed. And they did it totally out of devotion, totally out of love. Where did they get that from? They got that because they were appointed by God. They were for that position, right? And just like Moshe is the embodiment of it for the entire Jewish people, they're the embodiment of that for their people, of their tribe. And therefore, because they're the embodiment of it in their soul, that they have the capacity of empathy, of caring, of being there for the needs of everyone in their community. Therefore, when they say something, that's ordained on high, right? And therefore, everyone recognized that of the leader of the tribe, and therefore did not question, and with great joy accepted what was given to them, what was told to them, what they need to do. And as the Rebbe says, each and every one of us, each and every one of us, we've been ordained to take care of some fellow Jew. And if you don't, then you better come speak to me. Because that means you're not fulfilling your role. Because each and every one of us are ordained to take care of someone. That someone doesn't mean you have to take care of their meals, but take care of them spiritually to give them what they need. So we all, and if you're in a community, then that's where it's going to be. In the community that you are, that's going to be the place that you can provide to be, appointed as a leader that will take care of whatever. Could be just the people on your block. Could be the people, right? You have a responsibility. The people on your block. Whatever it is, we all have a responsibility for our fellow Jews. And by the way, from there, it also means that we have a responsibility, for non-Jews and the 7 Noahide laws to bring them closer. Now, sometimes we're only going to do it by default. So there's a fellow shliach that This goes back to a story, I think. It was in the 70s or in the 80s. Oh, no, it was in the 70s. It's 1972. It's Benjamin Yamin, person, newborn baby, who there were problems. There were problems. And the doctors were unsure what was wrong. So he wrote to the Rebbe immediately, as a chassid. He wrote to the Rebbe immediately for a bracha. Immediately for a bracha. The Rebbe said, "There's nothing to worry about. Asker al-Otzian, I'll mention you by the gravesite of his father, the previous Rebbe, right? No room for worry. Nothing to worry about." 2 days later, the doctor said, "Your son is perfectly well. Take him home." They couldn't figure out what happened. Everything's well. So he knew he needed to thank the Rebbe. So it was the Rebbe's birthday, 70th birthday, Yud Aleph Nissen, before Pesach. So he flew into New York and to the Fabrengen. The next day he was given a private audience, and he thanked the Rebbe for, thank the Rebbe. So the Rebbe asked him, "Could you please fulfill a mission for me?" He said, "Of course, no question. Go to the office, and Rabbi Chodakov will tell you what the mission is." Okay. Rabbi Chodakov gives him a package, and he says, "Take this to Tyler, Texas." That's all he says. He says, "But I'm not going there. I'm going to Arizona. I live in Arizona. I don't live in Texas." This is the Rebbe's birthday is a few days before Pesach, and he didn't get home for Pesach. Yeah. So Rabbi Chodakov says, "Oh, should I tell the Rebbe that you're not able to fulfill his mission?" Rabbi Chodakov was like, so he says, "I couldn't refuse." Okay. Anyways, but he has no idea where even Tyler, Texas is. And there's no flights that go to Tyler, Texas. There's no flights going there. There's no flights going there. He gets on his flight, this is in the afternoon, he's got the flight in the evening. Or I don't know, maybe it was morning and this is evening, I don't know, whatever, that day, and he's flying back. He's brokenhearted. The Rebbe sent him on a mission. He's got this package with him. It's a matzah, shmura matzah for the Rebbe. All of a sudden, as he's flying back to Arizona, brokenhearted, from control, and the pilot says, "We're sorry, we're having engine problems. We're going to have to land in Tyler, Texas." To land in Tyler, Texas. My gosh, emergency landing. Obviously, he's shocked, but he realized, what's he shocked? I mean, the mission has to be accomplished. He lands in Tyler, Texas. He gets out. He doesn't even know who he's supposed to meet. What is? He sees a frum person in Tyler, Texas, and says, "Oh, you must be from the Rebbe. You have something for me?" He gives him the package and moves on.
In this world.
Later, Benjamin says that Tyler, Texas is such a small place, the airport, that the airport's closed during the weekdays. It's closed. Yet the plane landed there, emergency need. What was the emergency? A Jew needed matzah. That was the emergency. A Jew needed shawarma. I'm talking to myself now, none of you. A Jew needed a mitzvah. A whole plane had to land. Emergency had to happen because it was a mission that needed to be accomplished. A Jew needed matzah. So first of all, the first thing is obviously when the Rebbe sends you on a mission. So here, you know, when you're sent on a mission, Moshe is sending you, Joshua is sending you on the mission, the Rebbe is sending you on a mission. The mission has to be done. There's not a question about it. Just have trust that the mission will get done. Something you don't know how. He didn't know. He thought he blew it. Right? But the mission will, the means to get the mission done. That's the first obvious point of, having trust in the one who sent you on the mission. How can you have that trust? Because you have a piece of mission. You can be like him. That you're here to fulfill the mission, God's mission. And what's that mission? That one simple Jew should have a mitzvah. That's the important point for us. That if we can be there for your neighbor, that they can do another mitzvah, right? And we feel responsible for that mitzvah. Why? Not because of brownie points, not because they're going to get me to I won't go to burn in hell, but I'm going to get the Garden of Eden. Wrong religion. And even in Judaism, there is that concept. Even in Judaism, there is that concept. Gan Eden. And some people are motivated, and there is that concept. But no, because you are connected. Just like Moshe Rabbeinu is connected, as we learned in the previous reading, right? That we have a piece of Moshe in us. So just like Moshe is the conduit for every single soul, right? And it's connected with every soul. So likewise, we're connected with every soul that we can be there for them. There's a great chassid of Mendel Futterfass. Chassid. Passed away the 4th of Tammuz, the year after the Rebbe passed. In 1994, the Rebbe's Gimel Tammuz, the 3rd of Tammuz. He's a year later, the next day, on the 4th of Tammuz. So the Rebbe came out with a campaign of you got to put on tefillin with Jews, and he was in New York. He spoke Yiddish, he spoke Hebrew, he spoke Russian, but he didn't speak English. He lived in Israel actually, but he's in New York. The Rebbe came out with a campaign. You got to put on tefillin with Jews. So how's he going to do that? Doesn't speak the language. Doesn't matter. He just went up to a Jew and says, "Me Jew, you Jew. Me tefillin, you tefillin." And people couldn't but put on tefillin. Why? Because his neshama was speaking. His neshama that is bound up and with a great love for every Jew was on fire, was connecting. And people sensed and felt that connection. How could they not but put on tefillin? This is how we need to be inspired. How could we but not connect with another and do a mitzvah with them? We have the Moshe in us. We have the capacity in us. And we got to make it happen, folks. It's enough already. We have here about 40 people learning today. That's wonderful. But it's a pittance. We have to reach out. We have to reach out to more people. Bring them on board. We have to touch more lives. So listen, it may not be that this is the way, the mitzvah that is going to get them of learning, Torah studies. But We have to reach out, whatever it is. And we can't be satisfied with what we're doing. If we're satisfied, we're not. Right. Any questions? Any comments? We have here a dozen people. We have on various social medias 20 people. And here we have half a dozen. Not sufficient. I don't see any questions. All right. All right. Thank you, folks. A good tavach, Shavua Tov, an amazing, great week. And now we have what to inspire the week.
Yes.
All
You're
right.
all set. Thank you, Rabbi.
God bless. Be well.